Hey guys, Lisa McGulis here. How you doing today? Today I'm going to be making butternut squash risotto with sage brown butter. And it's a recipe for school. I made it the other day and it was wonderful. We loved it. But Hank jumped on the counter and drank he drank the butter. So we're going to try this again so we can actually taste the sage butter on this one. So we'll talk to you in a bit. Bye. So as you can see, I have the oil going for the sage leaves, because that's the topping, crispy sage leaves. I have the veggie broth going to keep it hot, because with the risotto you want the broth hot because it's going to help cook the risotto through. And I have some other butternut squash infused with garlic and broth and sage. That's going to get blended up. That's going to be part of our cream that we, well, there's no cream, but it makes it creamy for the risotto. And then I have I'm going to make a mushroom risotto, and this was turkey stock that I made. So over here, let's place these in the oil to fry them up. Okay, I think these guys are done. So I'm going to take them out with the same slotted spoon that I used, and I'm going to then start the butter. Okay, now it's time to melt the butter, and again using Earth Balance. And I'm making a double recipe because it was so good last time, so you'll see that I'm using a lot more than the recipe calls for. Double batch. You want to make sure while you're doing this that you do stir your butter a little bit. You don't want it to burn, so just keep an eye on it. And it's going to start to turn dark. That's what you want. You want it to brown up. Okay, so this looks pretty good. It's a nice golden color. So now you take it off the heat and you put your sage leaves in so that the sage leaves infuse the butter. And you let that cool, and then you strain it so that there's no little brown bits in there. It smells really good. Okay, I'm gonna check our puree. Oh yeah, that's ready. So I'm gonna take this off the heat and let it cool a bit. You wanna make sure it does cool down because you wanna put that in the blender. And if you put that in a blender hot right now, like that, the cover's gonna pop off and you're gonna get burnt. So make sure you let it cool before you put it in the blender to puree it. Okay, so this is still pretty hot, but it cooled down a little bit. I pulled the sage leaves out, and I'm just gonna do teeny little batches, because again, this cover is gonna wanna go flying with the heat, and you don't want it to explode. But this is how you're gonna make your puree. And once you've pureed it, it's gonna go back on the stove. Because you need to make sure that it stays hot because it's going to go in with the risotto. Okay, so the butternut squash looks good. It's roasted nicely. I'm going to put that in a bowl, and since that's ready, we can start the risotto. You know, my parents grew up in the Depression, and they would be proud of me right now because I had extra sage leaves and I put it in the broth so it would infuse in the broth that we're going to use in the risotto. And remember that oil that we did the sage leaves in, instead of dousing that and tossing it away? That's what I'm going to use to start to saute our onions and our garlic. So I'm reusing. So this is infused with sage, so it's just going to add more flavor. Okay, the pan's all heated up. So I'm going to start to cook my onions. I put the oil in there, that's heated up too. And you want to make sure you cook the onions till they're almost translucent. That's when you're going to add the garlic. If you add the garlic too soon, it will burn, and you don't want it to burn. Okie dokie, add in the garlic. Remember, I'm doing a double batch here, so. Plus, we love our onions and garlic. Can't go wrong with that. Okay, the garlic's softened up a bit, and now it's time to start adding a little bit of hot liquid to this. And we're going to let that cook down. Once that cooks down, we're going to start to add the risotto. Or Spiro, what's it called?
Risotto.
Risotto. Okay, it's the risotto time. You pour this in here and you stir it until it's coated with all the oil and onions and garlic and all the good stuff, and get it toasted up a little bit, and then we're going to add our wine. I wish you could smell this. It smells so good. I think I'm going to get lit from these wine fumes. Just call me Julia Childs. Holy cow, it's steaming right in my face. Can you smell it, Spiro?
Sure could.
Holy
Don't
cow.
light a match.
Okay, so for risotto, you want to use a starchy rice. So you can use Bamba rice, arborio rice, something that's gonna, you can see it how it's starting to get starchy. That's the whole point of the risotto. That's what gives it the creaminess. You're cooking it a little bit at a time, and all that starch is coming out, and that's causing the creaminess. So here today, I actually am using, we had calaspara, is that how you say it? Rice, Spiro? And we had calaspara. We had that because I make my paella. So that's the rice I'm using. You want to make sure, again, it's a slow cooking process. You see the starch coming out. You're going to add a little bit of broth at a time. So you're going to be standing here for a while. Again, it's well worth it with the flavor. Be careful if you're using stainless steel spoons. You don't want to sit it in the pot and burn your hand. So, and I think in my other recipe that I shared with you, I don't remember, but I think I told you that there too. So that little bit of liquid's already gone. So now I am going to take, we're going to start alternating the puree with the liquid. So once it's almost cooked off, then you're going to keep going back and forth. Puree, broth, puree, broth. And, yum. Okay, so start, like the recipe says, about 15 minutes, start tasting. I can kind of tell by the size of this that it's done, but just start testing it and tasting it to see for your liking if it's soft enough or al dente, however you want it. For us, I usually do a little more al dente. This time I thought I'd make it a little softer. So I cooked it, you know, like 20 minutes, kind of like last time, but for some reason this one cooked up different. So now you're going to add your butter and your cooked roasted squash. Oop, sorry about that. And stir that up a bit. And then you're gonna throw in your arugula, and I'm using Swiss chard because that's what I'm growing in the house, in my garden, my hydroponics. And cover it a little so that the greens melt. Use any greens you want, spinach, it doesn't matter. Whatever you like, throw it on there. But wait till it wilts, and then we're ready to plate it. Now when you go to plate it, if you feel, you know, just before you take this out, if you feel it's a little dry, because it can, just add a little more of your stock. So there you have it, nice and creamy. I did end up adding some broth. I'm probably going to add a little more. And it's time to plate it. Make it look all pretty. You want to warm your dish a little bit before so it doesn't get cold. You don't want your risotto getting cold. And then it looks pretty on a flat plate instead of like a bowl. You want to have it on the plate. Clean it up so it's all pretty. What do you think? It's time to add our little broken pieces of sage and our drizzle of sage butter that Hank did not eat this time. Bon appetit, people. Enjoy. Love it.